Lisa Martinez stood in the corner of the huge metal room and watched the other fighters get ready for battle. She looked small next to them, really small. The alien warriors around her were twice her size and covered in thick armor that gleamed. Under the bright lights, some had 4 arms. Others had skin like rocks. A few could turn invisible whenever they wanted. The room buzzed with energy weapons charging up and armor systems coming online. Lisa looked down at her own gear. She wore a simple green combat suit from Earth. Her rifle looked like a toy compared to the plasma cannons and energy swords the aliens carried. Her armor was just thick fabric with some metal plates. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would impress anyone. A massive creature with 4 arms and a face like a bug walked over to her. This was Zix, one of the most famous fighters in the galaxy. His armor was black and shiny, and each of his 4 hands held a different weapon. He looked down at Lisa and started laughing. "Look what Earth sent us," Zix said in a voice that sounded like metal scraping on stone. "A tiny human with baby toys. Did your planet run out of real soldiers?" Other aliens turned to look and started laughing too. A giant lizard creature with red scales snorted. "I have seen Earth humans before. They break if you touch them too hard. This one will not last 5 seconds." Lisa said nothing. She had heard worse things during her trip to this place. Humans were famous across the galaxy for being weak. Every alien race was stronger, faster, or smarter than humans. Most aliens thought humans were cute pets that should stay on their little planet and not bother the real warriors. In the viewing area, high above the arena floor, 3 humans watched through thick glass. Commander Jake Miller gripped the rail with white knuckles. Dr. Kate Brown shook her head and muttered under her breath. Colonel Dan Hayes just stared down at Lisa with worried eyes. "She should not be down there," Kate said for the 10th time. "I ran the numbers. Any one of those aliens could kill her with 1 hit. Their bones are 3 times stronger than ours. Their muscles are twice as dense. This is not a fair fight." Jake nodded but did not look away from Lisa. She volunteered. Earth Command said no, but she kept asking. Finally they said yes, just to shut her up. She claims she has a plan. What plan could possibly work against those monsters? Dan asked. "Look at them. They are living weapons. We are sending a human to fight gods." Down in the preparation area, Lisa ignored the laughing and the pointing. She had studied videos of every fighter here. She knew exactly what each alien race could do. The 4-armed Krellans were deadly accurate with weapons and liked to fight from high places. The lizard draconians were nearly impossible to hurt and loved charging straight at enemies. The shape-shifting Vorthans could turn invisible and preferred sneak attacks. Each alien race had evolved to be perfect killers in their own way. Humans had evolved to be something else entirely. Lisa opened her equipment bag and started checking her gear piece by piece. She had a basic rifle that fired metal bullets instead of energy beams. She had some simple explosives that looked like chunks of clay. She had wire, timers, metal scraps, and what looked like junk to anyone watching. "What is the human doing?" asked a Vorthan fighter who could phase in and out of sight. "Those are not weapons. Those are children's toys." Zix walked closer to get a better look. Primitive chemical explosives and simple electronics. "I have seen more advanced weapons in museums. Earth technology is centuries behind the rest of the galaxy." Lisa finished her equipment check and closed the bag. She had everything she needed. Not to win a fair fight, because there was no such thing as a fair fight when you were human. Humans had learned long ago that fair fights were for species that could afford to lose. A loud voice echoed through the arena. "Warriors of the galaxy, welcome to the 847th Galactic Combat Championship. 16 fighters enter, 1 fighter leaves. All weapons and tactics are legal. Lethal force is authorized. May the strongest survive. The other fighters started moving toward the arena entrance. Lisa followed behind them, still looking tiny compared to the aliens around her. As they walked through the tunnel, she could hear the crowd cheering above them. Millions of beings from across the galaxy had come to watch the best warriors fight to the death. The arena was enormous. The floor was covered with obstacles, barriers, ramps, and platforms. There were places to hide and places to fight. Environmental hazards like energy fields and crushing walls could activate randomly. It was designed to test every possible combat skill. Lisa looked around and picked her starting position, while the other fighters chose spots that played too. Their natural advantages. She walked to the most exposed area in the center of the arena. It was a low spot surrounded by higher ground on all sides. Every military teacher in the galaxy would call it a death trap. The aliens watching her move into position started laughing again. The human chooses her own grave, rumbled the big lizard. Fighter, this will be over before it begins. I almost feel bad for her, said Avorthan. Almost. In the viewing area, the human delegation watched in horror as Lisa positioned herself in the worst possible spot. What is she doing? Kate whispered. That position has no cover, no escape routes, no tactical advantage at all. Jake was thinking the same thing, but something about Lisa's body language made him pause. She was not scared. She was not panicking. She was calm and focused, like a predator studying prey. The countdown began. 10 seconds to combat initiation. 9, 8, 7. Lisa knelt down in her exposed position and did something that confused everyone watching. She became completely still, not frozen with fear, but perfectly calm and alert. Her breathing was steady. Her hands were relaxed on her weapon. 3, 2, 1. Combat begins now. The arena exploded into action. Energy beams flashed through the air. Aliens charged at each other with weapons blazing. The sound of battle filled the massive space dot, and in the middle of it all, Lisa Martinez did not move. She knelt in her death, trap position, and watched everything with the patience of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. The real fight was about to begin. The battle horn echoed across the arena, and chaos exploded everywhere at once. Energy bolts streaked through the air like deadly lightning. The four-armed Krullans immediately climbed to high positions and started firing down at everyone below them. Their weapons made sharp crackling sounds as they shot beam after beam at their enemies. The Vorthan fighters flickered in and out of sight like ghosts. 1 second they were there, the next second they vanished completely. They would appear behind. Other fighters strike with their energy blades, then disappear again before anyone could hit them back. The big draconian lizards charged forward with earth-shaking roars. Their thick scales bounced off most weapons like they were toys. When they hit other fighters, the impact sounded like cars crashing together. And in the middle of all this violence, Lisa Martinez sat perfectly still. She did not fire her weapon. She did not run for cover. She did not even flinch when energy bolts hit the ground near her feet. She just watched everything with calm eyes, like she was studying for a test instead of fighting for her life. In the viewing area above, Jake grabbed the rail so hard his knuckles turned white. What is she doing? She is going to get killed just sitting there. Kate was taking notes as fast as she could write. Look at her face. Look at how she breathes. She is not scared. She is calculating something. Down in the arena, Lisa was doing exactly that. Years of military training had taught her the most important lesson of all. You do not win fights by being stronger or faster than your enemy. You win by being smarter. She watched a Krellan named Kex kill a smaller alien with 4 perfectly aimed shots. She saw a Vorthan appear behind a Draconian and stab him with an energy blade that should have killed him instantly. But the blade just bounced off the thick scales like hitting a rock. Every alien species fought the same way their people had always fought. The Krellans used their extra arms to carry more weapons and shoot from high places. The Vorthans used their invisibility to sneak around and ambush enemies. The Draconians relied on their tough skin and charged straight ahead, like living tanks. Each species used their natural gifts to fight. But Lisa had something none of them had ever seen before. She was human. A plasma bolt suddenly hit the ground right next to her, fired by Zix, who had noticed she was not moving. Lisa rolled behind a concrete barrier just as more shots rained down on where she had been sitting. The crowd cheered, thinking the human was finally being forced to fight. They were wrong. Lisa had just finished gathering the information she needed. From her new hiding spot, she opened her equipment bag and started putting together something that made the other fighters stop and stare. Using pieces that looked like simple explosives and metal scraps, she was building devices that seemed primitive compared to all the advanced weapons filling the arena. "Bombs," Kate whispered in the viewing area. "She is making improvised bombs." Jake suddenly understood what was happening. Human military tactics. We do not fight fair. We fight to win. Lisa finished her first device and carefully placed it between two obstacles where fighters would have to pass through. Then she immediately started building another one. While the aliens fought each other in honorable single combat like ancient warriors, the human was turning the entire arena into a minefield. The first alien to discover Lisa's new strategy was a Vorthan named Vel. He turned invisible and tried to sneak up on another fighter by phasing through what he thought was empty space. Instead, he stepped directly on Lisa's hidden bomb. The explosion sent shockwaves through the entire arena, not because it was especially powerful, but because of what it meant. The human was not fighting like a warrior. She was fighting like a gorilla. All the other fighters suddenly realized they were not just battling each other anymore. They were fighting the arena itself, not more. The biggest Draconian noticed what Lisa was doing and decided to end it quickly. He let out a roar that shook the walls and charged straight at her position. His massive feet crushed obstacles as he ran. His thick scales would protect him from whatever primitive weapons the human had. Lisa calmly picked up her rifle and fired 3 shots at the charging lizard. The bullets bounced off his scales exactly like she knew they would. But Moore did not notice the small electronic devices that stuck to his armor when the bullets hit. Devices that looked like broken ammunition, but were actually something much more clever. As Moore reached the spot where Lisa had been hiding, she was already gone. The human had used the time of his charge to move to a completely different position. She left behind another surprise that would activate the moment the angry Draconian started tearing apart her old hiding spot. The explosion that followed was not designed to hurt Moore through his thick scales. It was designed to blind him and fill the air with smoke. As the big lizard stumbled around trying to see, Lisa's voice came from speakers she had placed all around her old position. "Humans do not fight battles," the recorded message said in a calm voice. "We fight wars." Words sent chills through every alien still alive in the arena. This was not how the championship was supposed to work. By now, half the original fighters were dead or badly hurt. The survivors started to realize they were not fighting a normal opponent. Lisa had turned the arena into a nightmare where every step might trigger a trap and every shadow might hide death. Kex, the 4-armed Krellin, crouched behind a broken wall with all his weapons ready. His superior reflexes and multiple arms made him deadly accurate, but he could not hit what he could not see. Every time he thought he spotted the human, he found only empty space and another booby trap. "This is not honorable combat," he transmitted to the other survivors. "The human fights without honor, like a scavenger. A Vorthan materialized nearby to answer. Honor means nothing if you are dead. The human understands something we missed. This is not about proving who is the strongest warrior. This is about survival. In the viewing area, alien diplomats were becoming angry and confused. The competition was supposed to show off the finest fighting traditions of each species. Instead, they were watching their champions get hunted by a human using tactics many considered dishonorable. She is not even fighting them directly, complained the Krellin ambassador. Where is the glory and victory through tricks and traps? Jake smiled for the first time since the battle started. You wanted to see human combat tactics. This is it. We have been fighting stronger, faster, better equipped enemies our entire history. We learned long ago that survival matters more than looking good while you die. Down in the arena, Lisa was already planning her next moves. She had studied how each alien species fought, and now she was using their own strengths against them. The Krellins wanted high ground, so she would give them unstable high ground that would collapse when they used it. The Vorthans relied on stealth, so she would fill the arena with false signals that would confuse their senses. But the most deadly part of Lisa's strategy was not the physical traps. It was the fear. She had turned the arena into a place where the aliens' greatest strengths became sources of worry and doubt. When Zix finally spotted Lisa moving between positions, he fired all 4 of his weapons at once. But the human had expected this reaction. His massive display of firepower revealed his location to 2 other fighters, who immediately started shooting at him. By trying to kill the human, he had gotten himself killed instead, not as the number of survivors dropped from 8 to 6 to 4. A pattern became clear to everyone watching. Lisa was not winning because she was stronger or faster or had better weapons. She was winning because she understood her enemies better than they understood themselves. The remaining fighters began to realize something terrifying. They were not just fighting a human. They were fighting their own instincts and traditions. Every fighting technique that had made them champions was being used against them by an opponent who refused to follow any rules they recognized. Only 3 fighters remained alive. Lisa, a Vorthan assassin named Syl, and a mysterious warrior called Apex, who had won the last 3 championships and was considered unbeatable. The arena fell quiet except for the hum of damaged equipment and settling. Ebri. Then Lisa's voice echoed from hidden speakers throughout the maze of destruction she had created. You wanted to see how humans fight, she said calmly. We do not fight battles. We do not fight wars. We fight for the right to exist in a universe that constantly underestimates us. The final battle was about to begin. The arena had changed completely by the halfway point of the championship. What started as a test of warrior skills had become something that looked like a war zone. Lisa had turned every piece of cover into a potential death trap. Every pathway could hide explosives. Every quiet moment made the surviving fighters more nervous. Only 8 fighters remained from the original 16. They found themselves fighting not just each other, but the arena itself. Explosions came from empty spaces. Equipment stopped working because of electronic devices hidden in the wreckage. Strange sounds echoed from multiple directions, making it impossible to know where the human actually was. Kex, the 4-armed Krellin who had dominated the early fighting, hid behind an overturned barrier. All 4 of his weapons were ready to fire. His superior reflexes and multiple arms made him incredibly deadly, but he could not hit what he could not see. Every time he thought he spotted Lisa, he found only empty space and another trap waiting for him. This is not honorable combat, he transmitted to the other survivors on their communication frequency. The human fights without honor, like a coward who hides in shadows. Syl, the shape-shifting Vorthan assassin, appeared next to a damaged wall to respond. His ability to turn invisible had made him feared across 3-star systems. But even he was struggling against Lisa's tactics. Honor means nothing if you are dead. The human understands something we all missed. This is not about proving who is the strongest warrior. This is about staying alive. In the viewing area high above the arena, alien diplomats were becoming more and more upset. The competition was supposed to show off the finest fighting traditions of each species. Instead, they were watching their greatest champions being hunted, like animals by a human using methods that many considered completely dishonorable. "She is not even fighting them face to face," complained Ambassador Crix, the official representative of the Krellin species. "Where is the glory in victory through lies and hidden traps? This is not how warriors should behave." Commander Jake smiled for the first time since the fighting began. The smile was not happy, but proud. "You wanted to see human combat methods. This is exactly what you are getting. We have been fighting stronger, faster, better equipped enemies for our entire history on Earth. We learned a very long time ago that survival matters more than looking good while you die." Back in the arena, Lisa was putting the next part of her plan into action. She had spent hours studying how each alien species fought. She noticed that they all followed predictable patterns based on their biology and culture. The Krellins always looked for high ground where they could use their superior firepower. The Vorthans relied on stealth and quick movement. The Draconians used direct attacks and their natural armor, but humans were different. Humans could adapt any situation. Lisa began using each species' own strengths against them in ways they never expected. She used explosive charges to damage sections of the arena's upper levels, creating false high ground positions that looked safe but were actually traps. When the remaining Krellin warriors moved to claim these advantages, they found themselves isolated on unstable platforms that Lisa could bring down with carefully placed bombs. For the Vorthans, she created fake sensor readings and false heat signatures using simple mirrors and heat sources. Their invisibility abilities became a problem when they could not tell the difference between real threats and fake ones that Lisa had set up to confuse them. The Draconians found their natural aggression turned into a weapon against them. Lisa used their charging attacks to trigger bigger traps, redirecting their own momentum and strength into hazards she had prepared specifically for them. But the most deadly part of Lisa's strategy was not the physical traps. It was the mental warfare. She had turned the arena into a place where the alien fighters' greatest strengths became sources of fear and doubt. When Zix, the boastful Krellin champion, finally spotted Lisa moving between hiding places, he fired all 4 of his weapons at the same time. His massive display of firepower lit up half the arena like a light show, but the human had predicted this exact reaction. His attack revealed his position to 2 other competitors, who immediately started shooting at him from different directions. In trying to eliminate the human, Zix had eliminated himself. As the number of living fighters dropped from 8 to 6 to 4, a clear pattern emerged that everyone could see. Lisa was not winning because she was stronger, faster, or had better weapons than her opponents. She was winning because she understood her enemies better than they understood themselves. The remaining competitors slowly began to realize something that filled them with a cold fear. They were not just fighting against a human. They were fighting against their own instincts and everything they had been taught about combat. Every fighting technique that had made them champions in their own species was being systematically used against them by an opponent who refused to follow any of the rules they knew. Lisa's voice came from speakers hidden throughout the wreckage. She had created, but the fighters could not tell where she actually was. "You all fight the way your species has always fought," she said in a calm, steady voice. "Krellins seek high ground and superior firepower. Vorthans use stealth and precision. Strikes. Draconians rely on direct assault and natural defenses. You are all exactly what your biology and culture trained you to be." The surviving aliens looked around nervously, trying to spot her location while her words continued. But I am human. We do not have superior strength or natural weapons or advanced technology. What we have is the ability to adapt. We study our enemies and find their weaknesses. We use their own strengths against them. We never stop learning, and we never give up. A small explosion echoed from across the arena, but it was just another distraction. Lisa was teaching them something they had never considered before. Every advantage could become a disadvantage if an opponent was clever enough to turn it around. Alien fighters started questioning everything they knew about combat. Should the Krellans avoid high ground now? Should the Vorthans stop using stealth? Should the Draconians abandon their natural aggression? But if they stopped using their natural abilities, what would they have left? Lisa had planted doubt in their minds, more effectively than any weapon could have done in the final moments before the last phase began. Only 3 competitors remained active in the arena. Lisa, who was still hidden somewhere in the maze of destruction she had created. Syl, the Vorthan assassin who was becoming more paranoid with each passing minute. And Apex, a mysterious fighter from the core worlds whose species was unknown, but whose reputation was legendary throughout the galaxy. Apex had won the previous 3 championships and was considered unbeatable by any conventional method. Unlike the other competitors who specialized in single fighting styles, Apex seemed to combine the best abilities of multiple species. It had Krellan accuracy, Vorthan stealth capabilities, Draconian durability, and technological enhancements that were more advanced than anything the Alliance had ever seen. As the arena became quiet except for the sounds of damaged equipment and settling debris, Lisa's voice echoed one final time from her hidden speakers. "You wanted to see how humans fight when we are outmatched and outnumbered," she said. "We do not fight fair. We do not fight with honor. We fight to win, because losing means extinction. And humans refuse to become extinct." The ultimate test was about to begin. Lisa had proven she could defeat specialists who relied on single advantages. But Apex was different. Apex was an adaptive predator that learned and evolved during combat. The final battle would determine whether human adaptability could overcome alien perfection. The arena had become completely silent, except for the humming of broken equipment and the occasional spark from damaged electronics. Only 3 fighters remained alive. Syl, the Vorthan assassin, flickered in and out of visibility as he searched desperately for targets. Lisa stayed hidden somewhere in the maze of wreckage and traps she had built. And then there was Apex. Apex was a legend that every warrior in the galaxy knew about. A being whose species remained secret, but whose abilities were undeniable. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, Apex wore armor that seemed to flow and change like liquid metal. It had dominated the championships for 3 years running. Unlike the other competitors who relied on single specializations, Apex combined the best features of multiple species. It had Krellan accuracy with weapons, Vorthan stealth abilities, Draconian toughness, and technology that was more advanced than anything the Alliance had ever seen before. In the viewing area above, even Commander Jake felt his blood turn cold as he watched Apex move through the arena. The entity moved with smooth, deadly precision. Lisa's tricks worked against fighters who only knew one way to fight, he whispered to Kate. But Apex is different. It learns from everything and adapts to counter any strategy. Down in the arena, Lisa watched through a small periscope she had built from broken equipment. She saw Apex systematically find and disarm her carefully placed traps. The creature moved with clear purpose, identifying and neutralizing her explosive devices like they were children's toys. It was learning her patterns, adapting to her strategy, and closing off her escape routes one by one. "Impressive work, human." Apex spoke in a voice that had strange harmonic sounds, suggesting it was artificially enhanced. Your primitive tactics successfully eliminated the predictable specialists. But I am not limited by biological weaknesses or cultural combat traditions like they were. Syl made his move first. The Vorthan assassin used his phase-shifting ability to appear directly behind Apex for what should have been a killing blow. His energy blade was designed to cut through any known armor in the galaxy. He struck Apex's back with perfect precision and technique. The weapon passed harmlessly through adaptive armor that had shifted and changed to accommodate the attack. Before Syl could phase away to safety, Apex's counterstrike eliminated the Vorthan assassin in less than a second. Now only Lisa and Apex remained in the arena. You understand how hopeless your situation has become, Apex continued, moving steadily toward Lisa's last known position. I have analyzed and cataloged your tactics, guerrilla warfare, improvised explosives, psychological manipulation, environmental exploitation. All very effective against opponents with single trait advantages. But I combine all their strengths while eliminating all their weaknesses. Lisa activated her final desperate plan. A series of charges brought down entire sections of the arena's roof structure. Massive chunks of metal and concrete crashed down like a deadly avalanche. Smoke and dust filled the air so thick that visibility dropped to almost zero. For a moment, it seemed like the human had created enough chaos to maybe even the odds. Apex emerged from the destruction completely unharmed. Its adaptive armor had provided perfect protection against everything that fell on it. Destruction, without purpose, is merely the tantrum of a defeated child, it stated calmly. You have exhausted all your advantages. But as Apex closed the final distance to Lisa's position, something unexpected happened. The human stepped out from her hiding place with her weapon lowered. She began walking directly toward the unstoppable champion, with her hands visible and empty. You are right, Lisa said in a calm voice. I have exhausted all my advantages, all except one. Apex paused, its advanced sensors scanning for hidden weapons or concealed traps. It found nothing. Explain what you mean. Lisa continued walking forward, moving closer to the deadly champion. You said you analyzed human combat tactics, guerrilla warfare, improvised explosives, psychological manipulation, environmental exploitation. But you missed the most important one. Which tactical advantage did I miss? Lisa smiled and kept walking toward certain death. We never quit. In that exact moment, Apex's sophisticated sensors finally detected something they had missed throughout the entire competition. Every explosion, every trap, every device Lisa had detonated during the fight had not just been tactical weapons. They had also been releasing tiny amounts of chemical compounds into the arena's atmosphere. Compounds that were completely harmless to human biology, but had been slowly building up to critical concentrations in the air. The final device was not hidden in the wreckage or attached to the arena walls like all the others. It was built into Lisa's own equipment, designed to trigger when she got close enough to her target. Not an explosive device this time, but a massive electromagnetic pulse generator powered by all the chemical reactions they had been building. Throughout the entire fight, Apex's adaptive armor, sophisticated sensors, and technological enhancements made it the perfect warrior against any conventional opponent. But they also made it completely vulnerable to the electromagnetic pulse that Lisa triggered at point-blank range while standing right next to it. For exactly 2 3/10 seconds, Apex was just another biological creature wearing basic armor. All its technological advantages were completely neutralized. 2 3/10 seconds was all Lisa needed. Her final attack was not exotic alien technology or supernatural ability. It was a simple human innovation that had been winning fights for thousands of years. A shaped explosive charge positioned exactly where it needed to be, and triggered at exactly the right moment. When the electromagnetic pulse faded and Apex's systems came back online, the unbeatable champion was already falling to the arena floor. Lisa stood over her defeated opponent, breathing heavily but victorious. The entire arena fell silent, except for the sound of settling debris and sparking electronics. Then, slowly, the cheering began. Not just from the human delegation, but from beings throughout the galaxy who had witnessed something they thought was impossible. Lisa Martinez, the underestimated human who had been mocked by every competitor and dismissed by every expert, had won the Galactic Combat Championship. She had done it using nothing but human ingenuity, adaptability, and the one trait that defined her species. Above all others, the absolute refusal to give up no matter how hopeless things seemed. As officials declared her the champion, Lisa looked up at the observation decks, filled with alien diplomats who were seeing humanity in a completely new light. Earth was no longer the weak pet species of the galactic community. They were survivors, innovators, and warriors who fought not with overwhelming strength or advanced technology, but with something far more dangerous. They possessed the ability to find a way to win against impossible odds. Commander Jake watched with enormous pride as Lisa raised her simple human rifle above her head in victory. The message was crystal clear to every being watching across the galaxy. Humanity might be small, relatively weak, and technologically inferior by conventional standards, but they had something that made them the most dangerous species in the universe. They were human. And humans never quit. In the months that followed, the galaxy's perception of Earth changed completely. Humanity was no longer seen as the harmless pet species that needed protection. They were recognized as a force that could not be ignored or underestimated. Lisa Martinez had not just won a championship. She had earned respect for her entire species through courage, intelligence, and the uniquely human refusal to accept defeat. The galaxy would never make the mistake of underestimating humans again.